This episode connects everything learned so far. We are focusing on how exposure factors work together to create the final image. Why exposure factors matter. Control image quality, affect contrast and density, impact patient dose, and they are highly tested on the ARRT exam. These are the core controls of every radiographic image. Understanding them is essential, not just for the exams, but for real clinical practice. The three main exposure factors are kVp, which controls energy and contrast, Ma, which controls quantity, and time, which controls the length of the exposure. These three factors are adjusted on every exam. Each has a specific role, and ARRT questions often test your ability to separate them. kVp determines how strong the X-ray beam is. It affects penetration and image contrast. Higher kVp produces a longer grayscale. kVp controls the beam energy. Higher kVp, lower contrast, more gray. Lower kVp, higher contrast, more black and white. Memory tip, kVp equals contrast and penetration. Milliamperage controls quantity of electrons. Milliamperage affects image density. Milliamperage equals more photons with a higher Ma. Ma is all about quantity. Ma controls how many electrons are available to produce an X-ray. More Ma means more photons and a darker image. Exposure time controls how long exposures last. Exposure time works with Ma. Exposure time is a longer time equals more radiation dose. Time equals duration. The time determines how long the X-ray beam is produced. It directly affects total radiation when combined with Ma. The MAS concept. It represents the total quantity of radiation, the primary controller of image density. MAS is the total output of radiation. It combines Ma and time. Many ARRT exams focus on how changing Ma or time affects MAS. The relationship between Ma and time. Changing Ma or changing time, you double the Ma, you double the MAS. You double the time, you double the MAS. Half the Ma, half the MAS. Key rule, MAS controls density. MAS directly affects how dark the image is. Any change in Ma or time will change MAS proportionately. The MAS reciprocity law, different combinations, same MAS. Same MAS, same density. You can adjust the Ma and time while keeping MAS constant. This is important clinically, especially to reduce motion by using shorter exposure times. The key differences, kVp controls energy, which affects contrast. MAS controls quantity, which affects density. This is a classic ARRT question. kVp controls contrast, while MAS controls density. The 15% rule shows how powerful kVp is. A small increase significantly affects exposure and can be used to adjust technique. Increase kVp by 15%, it doubles your exposure. Decrease kVp by 15%, it decreases your exposure by half. Compensate for changes in MAS. The clinical application used and why this matters is if you reduce motion, increase Ma, decrease time. Maintain density, adjust the MAS. Control contrast, adjust the kVp. In real practice, these adjustments help optimize image quality while minimizing patient dose and motion artifact. Let's test ourselves. Question 1. What does kVp control? Question 2. What does MAS control? Question 3. What happens if MAS doubles? Question 4. What happens if kVp increases? And question 5. What does the 15% rule do? And the answers are: question 1. What does kVp control? kVp controls contrast and energy. Question 2. What does MAS control? MAS controls density. Question 3. What happens if MAS doubles? MAS doubles, density doubles. Question 4. What happens if kVp increases? kVp increases, contrast decreases. Question 5. What does the 15% rule do? 15% rule increases kVp, doubles exposure. These are the core relationships tested repeatedly on the ARRT exams. And let's test our skills one more time. kVp controls, MA controls, time controls, MAS equals, what controls density, what controls contrast? Let's check our answers. kVp controls energy and contrast. MA controls quantity. Time controls duration. MAS equals total radiation. What controls density? MAS. What controls contrast? kVp. If you answer these instantly, you're in a strong position for the ARRT questions. Remember, kVp equals contrast. MAS equals density. This episode ties together everything from previous lessons. Master these relationships. They are foundational for both the exam and clinical practice. Good luck.